Well, Emmanuel and Associates started many years ago when I was in Jackson, Mississippi, and heard an English pastor, preacher, share the great need for the gospel in the United Kingdom. And so in 1982, I came over here for 6 weeks to work with a mission agency. And I went door to door and spoke in the open air and found that he was telling the truth, that many people not only did not know the gospel, they didn't really understand who Jesus really was either.
A tough time, I think, spiritually in Britain. It's been a country that's been spiritually in decline for a long, long period. I think the last time that significant numbers even went to Sunday school would have been my grandparents' generation, but they were also the generation that stopped going once they reached adulthood. So in a neighbourhood like the one that I minister to here in Bristol, we're dealing with 3 generations that have never had any formal connection to church. So we're dealing not just with the children who don't come, we're dealing with the parents who have never been, and the grandparents who, if they went for a very short period of their lives, but may have had no historic connection to church at all.
Well, if we talk about the state of the church in Exmouth, there are quite a few churches, but the only problem being is if we got 42,000 people living in Exmouth, there is not 1,000 people who go to church. And that's quite sad. The church in the UK generally is on a decline. I think the major reason for that is that too many churches have stepped away from the gospel. Once we remove some of the gospel, or any of the gospel, it loses its power, it loses its effectiveness. God gave us the gospel for a reason, because it was the truth. And unfortunately, the churches in Exmouth and the UK have forgotten that.
Yeah, in the UK, the church is quite weak at the moment. From an evangelical perspective, there's probably 2 or 3% of the population would be classed as evangelical Christians. Church attendance is around 5 or 6%, but it's quite a difficult day, quite a difficult time to be a pastor, to be a Christian, and to lead the local church. But in a town like Caldicot and parts of Wales, we are seeing a little bit of movement towards faith and towards the church.
There's a huge heritage in the Welsh people. It's a land of revival, but it's over 100 years since the last major movement of God, and we've got chapels by large numbers without anybody in them. Some of them are just ticking over, and we long for younger men and women who will not just come to do their own thing, but to recognize that God has called them, and recognize the people who are here. There are born again people in just about every chapel. Yes, liberalism had its sway in years after the revival, but most people in this area, the ministers in the churches, such few that there are evangelical men, and we really want God to work powerfully. We are praying for revival. This is what is the great need of the hour.
Well, we have what we call GO teams, gospel outreach teams, and we bring them over sometimes from a church or from a conglomeration of different churches. And we work mainly with the church here in the United Kingdom to really, again, engage the community with the gospel of Jesus Christ, and also to help disciple them. But the teams come really as a catalyst and an encouragement to the church, and come alongside of churches that really sometimes are very discouraged, where they haven't seen any growth or anybody saved, and sometimes many of them are without pastors or in decline. And the teams really come and help them experience more of opens their vision and expands their vision for the church around the world when they come and engage and interact with the Christians here in this country.
We really enjoyed having the team from Petal Harvey come over. We've enjoyed working with Wyatt and Emmanuel Associates. It really did help the church. It really did encourage us. And I felt that the faith temperature of the church rose during that week and during the preparation and the church really feel now encouraged to do more things from an evangelistic point of view?
Well, the team from the States, and that has been a great blessing to the fellowship. They've done a lot of groundbreaking work for us. They've distributed tracts, raised our profile, distributed Gospels of John, which has been stretching for them, but it's also stretched our fellowship, because our fellowship is now moving into the area of, in their own discipleship, of going into their community. It's given them a reason to bring their friends, to bring their family to their homes, people that they've been trying to share the gospel with themselves. It's given them the ability to introduce different friends from a different situation who want to share their faith in Jesus.
The team came last year and opened up the doors into the local schools, into the local community for me, through song and through sharing their testimonies. The church is growing and is still reaching out. This year was an even greater success. We had people coming to faith.
We really believe in the Great Commission. It's great to read things in the Bible. It's great to try to understand them from a theological point of view. But now we really feel that God is calling us to go out into all the world, however far that takes us. But we believe the first step is to try to connect with this town and this community. And then as God strengthens us, then I believe that God will then, as the pebble goes into the water, will enable and equip us to move out further afield.
I viewed this Great Commission, you see, as, like I say, a command. It's not, Jesus didn't say, if you feel like it, if you want to do it. It's a command to everyone. It's not a command to some, it's a command to everyone. And it should be at the center of our heart, to make disciples.
Britain is a hard place to do ministry, but we are regularly seeing individuals saved. I long for more. I would love to tell you that we've seen hundreds saved. I mean, within reach of here are 80,000 people, most of whom, the vast majority, 97% plus, are hellbound on my watch. So there is work to be done. And what really needs to happen in this district is that we would see revival. I guess we all pray for that, but we need it desperately. And then we would take small teams from here and place them into neighboring districts so the light of Christ goes out, as it has here, into other places. That's our hope, that's our prayer, that's our dream, that's our vision.
If we obey Jesus' commands, he said, "My Father and I will come and make their abode with him." And Jesus said he would manifest himself to us, to the person who really honors God, who obeys his commands and who serves Jesus. The only motivation that people need and must have is not for glamour or anything else, but to serve Christ, to be a servant of his. And there's such joy in it, even though we have such difficulty. I'm in a building now that's a listed building because of its beauty. It has a glass ceiling, it is glorious. But if there are a dozen people here when they have a time of worship, that will be all. It's a tragedy beyond words, what is happening.
The reason that I believe that the church has gotten to this state in the United Kingdom and in other parts of the world is we don't take the Great Commission seriously. The Great Commission is not at the heart of what we're doing. We're not training other people to be schooled in the Great Commission and how to reach out to people and to reach people in their neighborhoods, people in their families, in their friendships, and this sort of thing. So that's what we also would like to do. We train people not only here, but people that come over here, how to effectively communicate the gospel to people so that they can go back home in the communities that they live in and also fulfill the Great Commission, because it's one of the things that Jesus said to us that we must do. It's a commandment. There are many, many people around the world that are lost without the gospel, but the workers are few, and we need more workers to go into the harvest field. Well, one way you can help us is you can come and be a part of a team. Every year we bring teams over, mainly in the summer months because the weather's so much nicer and people are a lot more friendly when the weather's nice over here. But we bring teams in and we work with local churches to do evangelism, to encourage that church, to serve them in any way we can, and to help engage them in their communities with the gospel of Jesus Christ. You also could pray for us because we need prayer. The spiritual darkness in this land is vast. And without prayer of God's saint people, directly praying for the souls of men and women and for workers to come into the harvest field here as well. Another way you could help us is you could help support us financially and partner with us to reach people here with the gospel of Jesus Christ, because that's our main goal. We want to win souls for Jesus Christ here and train people how to do that themselves in their own localities, in their own communities, in their own churches. So pray for us, please. Support us, please. Come, please, and join us. Thank you very much for listening, and may God bless you today.